Alright, today we're having a look at Paperboy by Little Big Noah. Alright, so here we are in Paperboy by Little Big Noah. This one's been on my list for a little while that I've wanted to play, and it certainly seems to have picked up an awful lot of interest in the interim. This is very slow, and there's a hedgehog. So we got a bit of a balance so far. Slow is not always great. That bird is pooping bubbles. I always take a little bit of bubble poop, I guess. Very slow pulling, but very fast hedgehog. I mean, really, it's like Sonic, you know. Gotta go fast. I'd like to go faster, actually. I mean, there's only so much time. We've already spent 30 seconds just doing this. But the cardboard aesthetic is one that, if you've been following the series, you'll know that I happen to love. That was a nice little effect there with the decorations, by the way. But everything feels kind of slow so far. Oh, that's neat. Okay, I gotta give him that. I like the way that the level builds itself. I can put S's on the end of my words. Also kind of weird with the camera there, but whatever. Interesting that they've labeled the checkpoint in the entrance, and it's surely an aesthetic choice, but it's a bit of an unusual choice. Hello? What do you want me to do here? Now, they do tell us it's going to be it's a simple platformer with cardboard aesthetic, which is certainly, that is a thing for me. I don't know why I'm going for these bubbles. I don't really need them. Ooh, fancy. That's not what I expected. That's not what I expected at all. Well, I expected to not die. Alright. Like, I hope these are not timed, but they're actually on a player sensor, because otherwise... Interesting. That was a cool choice. I like that. There are a lot of, like, neat incidental effects so far in the level, but just... It's not gelling for me quite yet. And maybe it will. I do like the environmental design. I think that's kind of cool. There's our hedgehog again. Watch out for those hedgehogs. They are danger. Not even dangerous. They're straight up danger in the noun form. So, like, we can still move in the cutscene, I guess? Only 32 seconds. That seems to be part of the issue of what's going on. Kind of explains what happened the last time as well. I don't know if that's necessarily the best choice that could have been made. What is going on here? What are you doing to me? Only 14 seconds, so very little time. Kusal. Hi. Alright, we're gonna have to talk about this back at the hub, but we'll see you there. See yas. And we're back. And Paperboy by Little Big Noah. And it's a yellow square. It's a bit of a softer yellow square, but it's not a bad level. It's relatively fun. There's some interesting points to it. But I do feel that there were places where it falls down a little bit. Now, as we did mention in the video, I do love the cardboard aesthetic level. And I like the paper thing costume. It's not really something that we see very often, but it's kind of nice to be forced to use that costume every now and again. There were some secret areas actually in the level, which explains why there was such a gap between my first score and what other folks have been getting, and I thought that was kind of cool. It was kind of neat. It's again something that I always enjoy whenever I see come up in levels. The gameplay for the most part it's relatively simple. There's not really a lot of challenge that's going to be going on in that gameplay, which, for better or for worse, does make it an easier, cruisier kind of level, and that can be nice every now and then. We see the grappling hook, the grappling fist, and the grabinators also show up in the level, and I felt that they were really underutilized. They both only have one section where you're going to be using them, and with the grabinator section, you're picking up bombs and you're trying to blow up this kind of big blockage there, and it just kind of goes on for a while, and it's not really interesting because it's just the same thing that you're doing over and over again. So I thought that was a little bit of a drop down. One thing that I found particularly unusual and not necessarily bad, not necessarily good, there is a fair amount of Foley work, there is a fair amount of sound work in the level, and that's nice. I do appreciate having kind of diegetic sounds and sounds that are indicating what's going on in the level. I thought that was kind of cool. But sometimes they're really unusually chosen. There's a lot of points where you're going to have this kind of sound going on, but there's nothing really that would produce that, and your own action doesn't seem like it should be producing a sound like that. It just stands out as being really kind of weird. The choice of music as well, I think, does do a bit of a disservice to the level, because it's this very chill, calming track. I think it's a Flirty Cha-Cha, but I would need to check. And there's no real momentum to that music. It's a nice track, and I do like it, but it doesn't really serve to push the player forward or to make the level feel like it's got a pace to it. So even though the level itself is relatively short, it does kind of feel longer than it is. It feels slower than it actually is. On the positive side, I did like some of the kind of cutscene type movie presentations that were going on when we jump into the portal that we saw in the video. I thought that was a really cool effect, and it was an effect that I was not really expecting. I figured that would be a wormhole that we would have to actually trigger, but to kind of be pulled up into that was neat. When we saw early on in the level, we pulled down that switch, and the two bits of the level split apart, and they're kind of tied together with like string or rubber bands, and that actually stretches out and then breaks. I thought that as well. That was an interesting effect. It was an unnecessary effect, but it added to the level. It gave it a bit of visual flair, and I really did appreciate that an awful lot. Paperboy, I mean, in the takeaway, in the end, it's not a bad level. There are some cool little bits to it. It's an easy to play level, and it's easy to slot in level. I feel like it's one of these kind of cool down levels that goes well when you're playing a lot of frustrating levels, or you're playing a lot of beefier levels. We kind of talked about that in the previous episode with Summer Food. Every now and then these types of levels are really well appreciated, to be perfectly honest, but it's probably not going to set your world on fire. It's not going to be something that you go back to and say, wow, that level, that really stands out to me. It's another one of these levels, so to speak. So a little big note, I do appreciate the work that went into this, and I do appreciate you creating and publishing. And the show can't exist without folks like yourself putting in the hard work of actually making these levels and putting them out so that I have a chance to play them and look at them on the show. So I thank you very much for that. But that pretty much wraps it up for us here at this Go About. So from me, Risco, here in Osaka, to all of you out there, wherever you may happen to be, thank you. Arigato, arigasamudata, sayonara, see you, and ciao.